All right, let's jump in a time machine today. We are heading way forward to the year 2137 to unpack a really wild idea: orbital marriage. So I want you to forget everything you think you know about till death do us part, because we're looking at a future that has totally rewritten the rules on love. So let's just cut right to the chase with this question. What if forever wasn't this single one-time promise? What if it was a series of very conscious, very deliberate choices you had to keep making? I mean, seriously, what if your marriage came up for a performance review every 7 years? You see, in the world we're about to explore, love isn't seen as a straight line anymore. That idea of a single beginning that just barrels toward one single end. No, here it's a cycle. It's more like a recurring wave of connection, then separation, and then maybe renewal. Okay, so how does a whole society actually work like this? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of this new social contract, a world that is literally built around love on a 7-year cycle. So the foundational building block of this whole system is something called an emotional orbit. Think of it less like a marriage for life and more like a union that's registered for a specific 7-year term. The whole thing is designed from the ground up with the expectation that it's going to be reevaluated. This isn't about avoiding commitment. It's about making commitment incredibly intentional. It's commitment, but with checkpoints.
So what happens when those 7 years are up? Well, that's where the interval year comes into play. It's a mandatory 1-year separation. And get this, it's become as common and expected as the honeymoon used to be. It's this built-in time for individual growth, for a complete emotional reset, before you even think about starting the next orbit.
But, a system this complex doesn't just run on social rules. This is where technology and intimacy get really, and maybe a little unnervingly, tangled up. We're talking about a future where AI isn't just for, managing your smart home. It's for moderating your love life. And here's what that actually looks like. This is a data report for a couple we'll be following, Lina and Arun. It was generated by their AI moderator, Sama. So after 7 years together, you can see their shared nostalgia is pretty high, 71%. That makes sense. But look at this other metric, 18% residual resentment. That's not just a bad mood. That's a specific, quantifiable problem in their relationship. Can you even imagine seeing your own relationship laid out in a bar chart like this?
And of course, that brings us to the human reaction. Here's Lina, kind of pushing back against all this data. This is that gut feeling, right? That intuitive part of us that says, hey, can you really put a number on a feeling? It's a voice from our time, arguing that caring shouldn't need to be validated by an algorithm.
But the older generation, they see it completely differently. To Arun's mother, this is just progress. She looks at it and thinks, you're not guessing anymore. For her, this data removes all the dangerous guesswork that caused her ancestors so much pain. It replaces all that messy ambiguity with cold, hard clarity. It's social evolution. So all of this, the data, the emotions, the family pressure, it all comes to a head in one single defining event. Let's step inside the reorbit ceremony and see what the ritual of modern love actually looks like. The ceremony itself is super structured, and it unfolds in 3 distinct stages. First, the AI presents its totally impartial data report. Then, there's a silent period of reflection called the recoil. And finally, you get to the moment of truth, the reproposal path. Now, this recoil part is fascinating. During this quiet time, memories from each partner's separate interval year are projected for everyone to see. So you see Lina, who spent her year teaching art to AI kids on the lunar colonies. And then you see Arun, who was halfway across the solar system in old Rajasthan, designing these incredible wind harps. It's this really powerful public reminder of the full lives they each lived apart and the distinct people they became during that time. And now we get to the absolute climax of the ceremony. The couple has to decide, do we recommit or not? But this isn't just about hitting the renew button on an old contract. It's about having the guts to actually evolve it. So right at this crucial moment, Lina says something incredibly bold. She's not rejecting their past, not at all, but she is refusing to just hit repeat. She's demanding that their future together has to be an evolution, a step forward. And that's a huge risk to take in a ceremony that's built on the idea of repetition. And Arun's response? It's just beautiful. He doesn't just agree with her. He offers a whole new way of being. He invites her to step forward with him,
but at a different rhythm. They're literally going to create a new pattern right there together. It's just this amazing act of co-creation. And just like that, they invent something new. Right there on the spot, they create a brand new relationship model, non-synchronous renewal. It's this totally radical idea that immediately starts to ripple through their entire society. A new kind of contract that honors both their togetherness and the individuality they fought so hard for. It's proof that you don't have to erase yourself to be part of a team.
So let's pull back for a second and think about the bigger picture. What does this new orbital model really mean for how we understand love and commitment?
Well, the difference is pretty stark when you lay it out like this. On one side, you have the way we tend to see love, a straight line headed for the state of permanence. But on the other side, you have this 22nd century model. It's orbital, it's cyclical, and it's defined by this constant waveform of renewal. It is a complete paradigm shift. And that brings us to this final, really beautiful thought from Arun. He starts to wonder if love was ever meant to be this static, perfectly balanced thing. Maybe it's always been this dynamic process, just a constant series of imbalances that are always looking for a new and maybe more interesting equilibrium. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on, one that's just as relevant for us right now as it is for Lina and Arun in 2037. Is a love that has to be actively chosen over and over and over again actually stronger than a love that is simply assumed? It's something to think about.